Hello, my name is Mina and I'm going to walk you through some of the best practices in selling and marketing an app on a third-party platform. I'm the founder and president of eCommerce. We sell e-commerce apps for Salesforce. These are native e-commerce apps built on Apex and Visualforce technology. Over hundreds and hundreds of implementation in the last 8 years, we came up with a set of best practices that we follow almost in every single implementation. So if you're an app developer, if you have a startup company building apps, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're part of sales and marketing for a larger app development company, then this information might be useful to you. Our app, eCommerce, is in its 4th generation. During the 1st generation and after selling hundreds of apps, we realized the implementations involved with the clients who know Salesforce for a long time, who use our application as an add-on to their existing infrastructure is faster and is more successful. The question was why? Then we realized if we combine eCommerce implementation with the basically getting Salesforce up and running, that's just too much from the client to ask. And that led us to believe our target audience are typically the clients who've been using Salesforce for a long time. So I have a question for you. What's the profile of your users? Is it a company who's been on the platform for a long time, just like us at eCommerce, or is it a company that's going to implement the platform for the first time, or there's some middle ground somewhere? I think answering that question might be a huge benefit to coming up with the vision and the profile of your future clients. During the life cycle of the 2nd generation of our app, eCommerce, we learned that having a product champion, having one person who takes ownership of our application on the client side is another key and very important factor in having a smooth project, smooth transition, and a successful initiative. In other words, there has to be someone on the client side who understands the application, take ownership for some of the decisions that's made along the way during the implementation, and ultimately take ownership of the application after going live. So this is the second question for you. In each one of your implementation, do you have a client champion? What steps do you take to bring a client who doesn't know anything about the application to become a champion of your product? What is the process? What are the information you provide? And how do you measure your success? How do you go back and see if this client is turning to your product champion? This last item is pretty controversial. And some of you might not agree with me. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to communicate back to me and share your experiences. So here it is. We did realize as we built our 3rd generation of the application is becoming more powerful. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more configuration, a lot more ability, and a lot more things that we can offer. But if we expect the clients to go through a user guide, install the application, and configure it, this actually can backfire. Now the user guide is way more comprehensive. There's a lot more you can do, and that actually scares away some customers. So our solution was to install and configure eCommerce for the client and also provide some complementary services to understand what features and functionalities are the core of what they're looking in e-commerce and get those features and functionality up and running. And this actually helped us to cut the implementation time frame from our typical competitors or typical companies in the same line of business from months to only 3 weeks. For many of our clients, I would say a good 70 to 80% of our clients, the implementation time frame for eCommerce is now about 3 weeks. And that's, of course, having a company that's familiar with Salesforce and also having a product champion, as I mentioned in my last comments. And here's my 3rd question for you. Do you know the average life cycle of your app implementation? Do you know the cost of each implementation? Do you know how to break down the implementation into phases so you can deliver a cost-effective solution in a timely manner? If the answer is yes, then you're on the right track. Okay, to summarize. 1, understand the life cycle of implementing Salesforce itself and determine at what point your app or the add-on you're building is relevant. 2, have a product champion, have someone at the client side who takes ownership of the decision made through the implementation. And 3, make the implementation cost-effective in a timely fashion. Thank you for watching.